Okay, cool. We are good. We are live. First, quick thing, Sierra, will you send me a DM if audio and video looks and sounds good? Um, Thank you so much, everybody, for making some time from your day. I know everybody has a lot going on work-wise, personal lives are busy, so to spend an hour of it here with us, it means a lot. So we're really grateful for that. Um, a few little housekeeping items. We love an active chat, so feel free to ask questions. There's in AirMeet, there's two ways to do that. There's a chat and there's a Q&A. Use whichever one. I'll keep track of both, and I'll be queuing them up for May. We're going to leave time for some Q&A at the end, but if you have something specific to the slide that we're currently looking at, drop it, and I'll do my best to queue that up in the moment. So I'm going to hand it over to you in a second, May. Last thing, use the chat, drop a note just saying hi from wherever you are, just so we can get a sense of like how global this is, because I'm imagining we've got people from all over, and I'll do the same. Okay, cool. So today we'll be sorry,
Just
May.
seeing that's always my favorite part is the
Yeah.
like, hi from so and so.
Yeah, here we've already got Philly, London, Sacramento, Vancouver. That's amazing. Super cool. Um, so we're going to be talking about AI and content marketing, specifically practical ways you can use it in your own workflows today, not this sort of future AI thing that we all feel like is coming, but like actually right now. I've had the chance to spend quite a bit of time with May recently. We recorded a series of tutorials, which we're also going to be sharing with everybody after this webinar. So it's going to go even deeper on ways that you can use Writer to accomplish some pretty cool tasks within your existing workflows, and potentially some new stuff that you're not doing. One of the things that I have learned in the time that we've spent together, May, is you've explained to me that AI is not magic. It's just technology. And as you learn to use it, you can kind of harness the power for speed, for efficiency, for cost savings, for creativity. So really excited to dive into some of that. I will throw it over to you now. May, do you mind just giving us an intro of yourself and of Writer, and then we can dive in?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is May Habib. I'm calling in from New York. I live between San Francisco and London, but am on the road a lot. And I am the CEO and co-founder of Writer, which is an AI writing platform for teams. And what makes Writer different than any of the other GPT-powered tools that you may have heard about in the content marketing community is Writer is powered by a company's own brand guidelines and own content. And so everything we're going to show you all today is stuff that our own customers and users are using right now. And it is definitely a brand new world. And yeah, AI is just another tool for all of us, especially all of these editorial and writing experts who are joining. So you all are best positioned to make the best use of this tech and this new tool. And yeah, excited to dive in.
Cool, let's do it. I'll have to admit, I had a bit of skepticism before I saw this in action, and really saw like some of the examples you show us today. Like you said, they're real customers, it's real work. The copy and content they create is out in the real world for real readers, and that kind of turned a light bulb on for me. So hope it does that for some other folks too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jimmy. And you are awesome. So share screen. Okay. Let me know, Jimmy, when you can see my screen.
Yes, all good.
Okay, super. So let us get right into it. You all heard about me, but about our vision. I think this is something that is absolutely uniting to everybody at Writer. Really, this belief that everybody should have the power to make themselves understood, of communicating well, and it is what we are trying to do with Writer and with the incredible customers that have joined us on this journey. And the problem that we are solving in content marketing is one that you all are going to be really familiar with. The number of channels and the frequency with which we want to be posting in those channels is really beyond what most of our teams are staffed up to do with people. And even in the best of times, you know, a couple of years ago, or even this time last year, kind of the height of the market, we were all having a lot of trouble staffing up our teams. The talent and the budgets together were this kind of perfect storm, and now it's even worse. And Jimmy, I didn't talk to you about this when we were going deep last week, but we've actually done some primary research that we're going to be publishing around the disproportionate impact on content people in some of these tech layoffs that have happened over the past 6 months. And it's super unfortunate. So that is only going to make this problem so much worse for all of us. And what we have done together with our customers, really on the bleeding edge here, is figure out ways in which AI can be used to really supercharge the human beings, the experts who are on the teams right now trying to make content marketing work for the business. And there are 5 main areas that we're going to dive into today for how people are using Writer in their processes. And the 5 are ideation, drafting, editing, distributing, and repurposing. So kind of that whole life cycle of content from start to finish. These are real people, and I'm excited to tell you their stories. The vast majority of them sound like Hunter, and he is a creative director that we work with, and we work with a lot of writers on his team. And the writer being the main reason, he's not grinding his teeth into a nub. I definitely thought was an apt way to describe what we're able to do. So it is definitely like a switch that gets turned on for teams once they've got Writer. And I'm excited to tell you about exactly what it can do. Now, to Jimmy's point at the beginning, the fact that this is not magic, the fact that this is technology is really important, because you all on the phone and the customers that we're going to talk to you about, they are the first people who are really making generative tech work for their companies. So these are not like we're experimenting for a couple of months, then we churn on some product, or, this is cool, what do you think? This is, we are going to change the way we do things based on this technology type of advocacy. And without really understanding the tech, it can be really easy to get lost in all the ways in which something could go wrong, or all of the fears when our lizard brain kind of turns on around what AI can do. So it's important to understand what has caused this explosion. This is a bit of, now, like, this is such a hot space. We've been doing this for years. So, we were here before it was hot. And folks have got their own market maps, but this is really like the way Writer sees the world. I don't know if these slides are going to be up. Like, this is like super proprietary. This is how we see things for the folks on the phone. And this is an intimate conversation, so I'm comfortable with this. But AI writing has exploded, and understanding the tech gives you the why. And folks on the phone are sophisticated, so I'm not going to go through like the whole alphabet soup. But like, we are here at the middle. The bullseye of deep learning is where this technology comes from. And the intersection of NLP with that technology is what makes Writer really, really powerful. And we were, my previous company was a localization company, and we saw what was happening with transformers before lots of people did. And the reason for that is transformer-like technology and transformers really got to where they are today, trying to solve the machine translation problem. And the big idea here is that we went from a world where we needed to process text sequentially, think like the same sentence in French and English. And that's how I build a deep learning model to understand how to go from French to English. We went from needing to process text that was lined up like this sequentially to really being able to treat words as vectors. And that resulted in this explosion and creation really of the field of large language models, transformer models, foundational models, all of the things that are now really euphemisms for transformers. So the big technology advancement here is that we don't need to process text sequentially, and that made a number of natural language processing problems so much easier. We're able to work on longer texts. We could actually train the models faster because you don't need this kind of recursive analysis happening. And you could actually throw a bunch of data at a model without needing to label it. And the explosion of data is really what caused, the models to really mimic human intelligence. And I'm not in the camp of feeling like large language models are AGI, or general intelligence. If that is the case, then we have definitely been sold a lie about what AGI is. Like, this is truly just mimicking what human intelligence is. And what it really says to me is that language is so deeply structuring thoughts and ideas, and that's what's captured and encoded in language, and that's really what's being spat back to us when we prompt and use these models in what we're doing. There's a big concept here around fine tuning that addresses how Writer is different and why using Writer results in such dramatically better output than using other models. And the concept of fine tuning is specifically the ability to take actually more label, and it can still be unlabeled, but like usually labeled data, and using that to get the transformer and the foundational model better at a more narrow set of things that it's doing. And so in a real context, it is basically taking the Writer foundational model, which is based on GPT. It's not GPT-3, but it's GPT, and building on top of that the ability to do short form ad text, or longer form blog post text, or longer form landing page text, which is actually different than blog post, right, in terms of like the way the logic is set up. And then on top of that is where a customer's own examples and customer's own training data comes in. So it's multiple levels of fine tuning on top of this massive, massive model. And I think that is the future of how generative tech gets embedded into our teams, and really like serving as tools for professionals. We need the juice to be worth the squeeze for any of this to be valuable at all. And if you are sitting there like revising an entire thing that you got from AI, it's just really not a good use of time versus just cranking it out solo. So fine tuning is a big part of what we do. And so I thought this might be fun to do a little ad libs here. Let's see if I can share screen and see the comments at the same time. Okay, yeah, here we go. Okay, so let's see who can get this ad lib. So Writer is natural language generation that uses adjective large language models that can be further fine-tuned with a customer's own noun. So let's see if anybody can guess first adjective and second noun. Any guesses? Jimmy?
I'm dropping the screenshot of this into our chat so folks can see it, because they're not able to see it right this second.
I can't share, Andrew.
Okay.
You're gonna have to tell me.
Oh, gotcha. Got it. Okay, cool.
So Writer is natural language generation that uses fine-tuned large language models that can be further fine-tuned with a customer's own data. And so the ability then for us to take that technology and stick it into all of the writing that we are doing in marketing is truly profound and game changing. And that's what Writer is. So what we're going to spend the rest of the conversation talking about are the different examples really across this journey. And I've got examples from kind of each bucket of content from customers and how they're using Writer to talk to you all about. And then we'll go into Q&A. Okay, so let's start with number one, ideating. So this is the story of one of the ways that our great customers over at Intuit are using Writer. And these banners are banners that are in various product experiences on QuickBooks that actually cross promote the various QuickBooks product. And like a lot of in-app copy, a H1s, the H2s, the CTAs all have to follow certain requirements. So from character count to what the content is to the CTA has to start with a non-gerund verb. And so those are a lot of things that one needs to keep in mind when writing, and it can get very repetitive. These are very high volume, like we're talking dozens required by product a week when they're in the sprint. And so with Writer, what they built is a template. So all of the different ways you can generate content in Writer are called templates. And our customers customize the templates for exactly what they need. And so it's real hyper customization. So with Intuit, what their folks do is they come into Writer, and they will select from this product name. You can see here the drop down. They've got the various products: accounting, payroll, payments, cash, etc. And they'll put in the banner details what the value prop is that they're trying to get at. And automatically, Writer generates they wanted four different options that can go into the banner based on the value prop and based on the product name. And the headline, the subhead, the CTA automatically aligns with these guidelines that they have for what the content should be and look like. And so this is both NLP and NLG technology working together. The generative piece is the content generation, and the NLP are the rules that you stick on top of it. And some of them are machine learning, and some are rules around the structure of the content, from character count to how the verb should be, how the sentence should be structured, what the punctuation looks like, terminology or phrasing that can or can't be used. That all gets implemented and taken into account when the content is generated. And so a really powerful way to quickly get ideas out the door, and we were able to train this model based on really just a few examples, a handful of examples of these banners by product type. So that is one example of ideation. Number two, drafting. How do we draft faster? And anytime you have content that is structured, so I am writing a press release, or I am writing a case study, and all case studies are fantastic for this too. And I always set up a problem statement, then a solution, and then a context setting, then the details, etc. Anytime you've got structure plus precedent together, it is just prime time for being able to use a NLG template. And for these fantastic folks that adore me, press releases fit the bill. This is a very creative group of copywriters and copy editors, and nobody liked writing press releases. And they were doing it not so often, but definitely a couple times a month. And so with Writer, they built a really simple template that allows them to type in, what is the title of what they want to do, who is it, who's involved, a sentence about it, and then their about us, and we can automatically generate a press release that already meets their requirements. So they like to do 4 to 6 paragraphs. The CEO's got to be quoted, someone else might be quoted, and then the about us. And they are good to go. And I remember when Ranjan told us that, it had happened now multiple times that their CEO had approved without any changes quotes that we had generated. And so, we are learning from things that they have done in the past. And so really incredible how quickly Writer can learn a company's brand voice and even an individual's voice within that brand.
That's really interesting. I did want to ask you about the quotes because
Yeah.
I find it fascinating that it can actually generate quotes, which then you could go to your CEO and say, hey, what do you think about this? But you could also, I would imagine, get a couple quotes beforehand, plug that into the input, and then it would build the quotes into the article as well.
Right. And that's the power of the Ask Writer Anything template that that you're going to drop a video on, Jimmy, because you could actually go in there and say, give me 10 quotes on why this Ask Me Anything is the most fun Ask Me Anything that Jimmy's done. And then, we would generate 10 quotes, and you can use one of those. So it is really this powerful all-purpose tool for content creators that can generate a lot of different ways to ideate and draft.
Got it. Actually, we have a question about that in the chat, May. Caitlin asks, does it need to be customized to your business, like in the Adore Me example, or can you jump in? Can you jump on in and it will already get it, or we'll have some starting point?
Yeah, you can definitely jump right in. So if you all go to writer.com right now and sign up for the team plan, you'll get 5,000 words for free every month for any of these templates that we're talking about. There is a press release template and there is a messaging template. So the messaging template isn't going to be, as customized obviously as this one, but everything we're talking about today, there is an out of the box equivalent. And that's actually what gives people the ideas originally of like, hey, could you all do this if you can do that? And then we narrow in from there. But absolutely, the generation features are part of our self-service plan.
Got it. I'll drop a link in the chat in a minute. We're going to publish these tutorials. And I used Writer to write introductory blog posts for each of the tutorials. And I used the Ask Me Anything feature. And it was pretty interesting because I would give it some direction, like write 350 words about this or that. And then I would actually give it the transcript from our discussion, May, and it would,
Oh,
what I ended up doing was I would tweak it 2 or 3 times, but within 5 minutes or so, I would get exactly what I need. And then that'll be published on Webflow. I'll drop an example in the
that's
chat in a minute.
awesome. That's awesome, Jimmy. So happy.
And then can we have one more follow-up question about that one, May?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Caitlin had a follow-up. She said, oh, got it. So I'll cue it up for you. She's follow-up from Caitlin says, is it just press releases and messaging frameworks, or can we do this with blog posts too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And let me actually, let me show folks quickly what the interface looks like so people can have a mental picture of what we're talking about. So we've got 2 different ways that you can do blog posts. Let me share back to sharing screen here. Okay. So when you log into Writer, you want to go to co-write for the generations. And then these are all of the templates. And blog posts are down here. And there's a simpler blog post build template, but I love this builder because it allows you to go through a really logical flow. So let's say we wanted to do Jimmy Daly. Let's do Jimmy Daly launches Superpath, a Uber network for content marketing leaders.
I like the sound of that.
Oh no. Okay, of course, classic. Not sure. Might be my hotel internet here. But for the person who asked that question, put in your headline and then you're going to get an outline. And then you'll be able to put in your key points by for each part of the outline. And we're dropping a tutorial for Blog Builder in the community. When will that drop, Jamie?
Today. Well, I'm going to send that stuff out today.
Okay, perfect. Let me just try it one more time.
Yeah, and this for folks, we have 13 tutorials we're going to publish. So there's, we're looking at a handful of examples today. We have more coming, stuff that you're not seeing here, and some really like nitty gritty specific stuff for content marketers, getting down to as specific as like using AI to build internal links in the content you're creating, like really cool stuff. So we'll be publishing all that later.
Very exciting. Okay, so let me know if other questions come up in the chat, and we'll go on to number 3. So the third one is around editing, and we've got a number of, I mean, really everybody, customers who've got style guides that look like this, and this should be familiar to folks in editorial who are on the phone, like 60, 70, 80 page documents that are really hard to remember. And the folks who even know what is in there tend to be the folks who wrote them, and even they forget. And what Writer can do is use AI, so this is both NLG and NLP, to consume that and turn it into something that everybody is able to use. And Ty is an amazing customer now at 2 companies. He's brought Writer in, and his big thing was like, we have this incredible guide to our brand voice. But how can I expect the creative team or the content team or anyone really outside of me and two other people to know it, live it, breathe it? And what we were able to do is really turn that into a set of switches in Writer. And we can do this automatically. Folks literally just email us their PDFs of their style guide. We automatically turn it into settings in Writer, and we give everybody a Chrome extension or a Contentful plugin or a Figma plugin or a Word plugin. We've got a whole ecosystem. Anywhere where people are writing, they use a Writer plugin, and they're able to get all of those style guide suggestions automatically back to them. And no rule is too big or too small. We have really been able to code up everything. And we give everybody an online site. So UiPaths is at uipath.styleguide.com. That automatically houses all of those guidelines, from writing style to punctuation to reading levels to terminology and the phrases and the messaging that really constitute a content style guide. And this is really the big idea that launched the company. The idea that design has got all of these brand guidelines, but arguably, and what the research says is that it is the words and the messaging you put in front of the user that gets them to actually buy your product. And we spend all of this time and energy on the visual brand guidelines and nothing on the content guidelines. And so we set out to change that. And the AI that gets built in doing this is really quite powerful. And it's a big part of why what comes out of Writer's natural language generation doesn't sound generic. It sounds like you, because you have put in the brand guidelines at the outset. And this part of the product is also in the self-service part, and so you can definitely play around with the style guide, the terminology, the snippets features, which are all about that controlled language capability.
Really cool. To me, the style guide is just like the easiest, most obvious time saver.
Yeah.
If you have a style guide, which most companies do, like, do you adhere to it? Who's responsible for it? Because the person responsible for it has some really, really tedious work on their hands to be combing through every single piece of copy that gets published. Because it's not just blog posts, it's social copy, it's press releases, it's landing pages. There's so many different things that are affected by it. And so this, to me, just seems like obvious. Like, if you're going to have a style guide, just automate it. But one other just like small thing that I really appreciate is that it'll explain why. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you use a word incorrectly, you don't capitalize it, you get a quick explanation of why, and that trains the human doing it on the brand guidelines as they're working, which is really interesting.
And we've heard that a lot. People tell us that like their onboarding time for new writers has like gone down so much, because even these cards, you're customizing what the person reads. People put in emoji, people put in images. Like they are learning the brand voice by hearing the voice of the editor in their head. And then even verbal and oral communication improves because people know how to sound when talking about the company. And our champion, McDaniel at UiPath, she told us something so interesting. And they have hundreds of users at UiPath, a global company. And she said, like, she will get DMs from employees who are like at a field marketing event, and they were like, like, this thing on the banner that I saw isn't on brand, because it's nuts, right? Because they saw they're so much more in tune now to what terminology and language the company is using.
Yeah, really cool. Just a quick note on Ty. Ty is a friend. I've known him for a long time, and over the summer we caught up, and he was the one who was like, "Dude, what are you doing with AI? Like, you have a content community. I feel like you guys should really be like kind of at the forefront of this." And I was like, to be honest, I don't know that much about it. He walked me through some of the stuff that he was working on at UiPath, and I was really impressed. And just random side note, recently saw on Twitter that Ty is offering a AI blog post creation service using Writer. So if you actually want to have someone else work on this for you, Ty has developed a process. And anyways, you can find him on Twitter and learn more about that. But I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, he is amazing. And I definitely feel like, this is that's just the very beginning of people really being able to use AI is a tool to further develop so many things. So, and at Emotive, where he brought Writer in, they doubled traffic from search
Wow.
using Writer. And we need to do a whole separate conversation on AI and SEO and like very top of funnel. We spend a lot of time on that and with customers, and that's a whole thing. But like they have really proven that those kinds of results are possible.
That's
And
amazing.
it's not
Really cool.
uncommon. It's happened. It's happened since too. Okay. Number 4, distribution, distributing faster. So Ellevest is a super amazing brand. Their editorial is to die for. It is a financial literacy company, and they've got tons of products, and really are the top kind of private wealth community management community for millennial women, especially. And they've got a very youthful demographic. So, millennials are probably like the old ones. Gen Z is a big part as well. And so a very distinctive brand voice, and search and distribution are big parts of their editorial strategy. And what they told us, and what other folks told us, but they, most convincingly, is just how much content is involved in distributing content. And so they built a template, and this comes in the Writer product now under highlights. But they built a custom highlights that allows them to put in the title and the content. And some people are doing this with URLs. They're producing all of this distribution content package before a blog post goes live. So they're actually putting in the actual content. And what they automatically get out of Writer is examples for meta descriptions. And I hate writing meta descriptions. And knowing that you've got a meta description that is like drafted for engagement and opens, that meets the character limits of the CMS, is really helpful. They get examples and ideas for push notifications. So they also send out push notifications to subscribers, and have got a format that they send things in, and like character counts there too. They automatically generate LinkedIn and Twitter share copy, and they actually do. You can see here the Ellevest and Sally Krawcheck, their CEO, is underneath, and so they're able to, by platform, come up with ideas that are both like at the account level and the CEO level, things that give them first drafts of what to say on those products. So this is a new part of the product highlights, and in the let me show you where it would be. If you are in Writer, let's go back to here. This is the icon you would click once you paste in your content to get the highlights. So a really fun way to use AI to increase the speed of content distribution. And other folks have gotten, even more creative with what they are producing, including emails to owners of newsletters or influencers that they want to potentially include links to a new blog post. So whatever it is that, we call it automate everything that's automatable. Like whatever you are doing regularly, we can help put that content on autopilot. And of course, it is trained and refined on your own content that you've done, and your guidelines for that. Okay.
Really cool. Sierra, our content manager, and I were just talking about going back to promote old content, which, you publish it, you tweet about it, you post on LinkedIn like that week, but we have this library of hundreds and hundreds of articles. We were talking about using Writer to generate tweets and LinkedIn posts for older pieces, and then loading a bunch of that stuff into Hootsuite or Buffer, so that we have like a steady stream of older stuff going out.
Yeah, because as soon as you've written it, it's all fresh in your mind. Like those tweets are rolling off the tongue. But really, for older stuff, it's even a harder challenge. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Definitely.
Okay, and lastly, I love this example. This is Kristen over at Do Stuff. Super innovative team, unbelievable. And they've got really good content across a number of cities, and they do event content. The copy is witty, it's clever, it's super in the know, and they built a template that allows them to put in the URLs of content that they have published already, and we automatically generate a newsletter that is ready for MailChimp. And you can see on the left just the hyper specificity here. You've got an intro, you have a just announced, you have a deep dive. A couple of the sections you can actually add other sections, and they unlike LMS, they've actually, this stuff is published already, right? It's a very like weekly kind of cadence, and they stick in the URLs of the events they're trying to promote in that week's newsletter for that city. And each section comes out in the format that they have, set up for that newsletter in terms of the amount of content, the amount of depth, etc. So a super fun way to repurpose content. Other repurposing examples that we have seen are people turning case studies into sales email, and that's actually one of the tutorials that we put in together. And we've got folks who do the reverse, kind of take like 2,000 pages and turn that into a smaller case study. So lots of different ways to repurpose content with Writer. The important thing is really thinking about your processes and the things that you are doing most frequently, and the things that, if it was automated, could free you up for kind of that more primary ideation and like point of view generation. That is where the most creative kind of effort is required. So that is all I had for everybody today. So really these 5 areas where AI can be used. We have seen an incredible amount of time savings per writer per month saved. Remember, we sell only to content marketing teams and marketing teams who've got incredible writers and content people on the team already. So this is the kind of acceleration that you get when you put real technology and tooling like this in the hands of people who know how to evaluate the output, who have written a lot of the stuff that goes into the input. I remember demoing to somebody who saw a result come out in Writer and was like, oh, I think I wrote that sentence. And, it was literally like, so, and it's impossible because of just the way the technology works. But it was so similar, right, to like everything that she's been working on. She really recognized the body of work. And so that is what we are really trying to accelerate. And the power of a style guide and structured processes and some training data. We're not talking thousands and thousands of examples. It's usually dozens or a couple hundred at most. But all of that together really builds a very powerful way that content marketers today can use AI to accelerate processes.
Amazing. So cool. Thank you so much, May. I'll also just add like personal experience. I spun up these 12 or 13 blog posts in like half an hour. It was a very pleasant experience. But I felt like the thing that it actually helped me with was not hitting that like creativity fatigue that you were talking about. I could do it. It wouldn't take me a whole day. It maybe take me a couple hours to work through those. But like at some point, it's just like my brain is like not. I don't have the kind of like the power to like keep going, right? And so like when you understand the process so well and you can just plug it in, that's amazing. Same with like generating headlines, which is one of the tutorials we did. Generating headlines, there's a lot of creativity that goes into that, but there's also like a fatigue ceiling that you hit. We have some awesome questions I would love to queue up for you, May. And for folks, like now's the time. We've got 18 minutes, so drop questions and let's work through them. Amber asked, Jimmy, what tier are you using to generate those posts? I use the free tier. We're going to upgrade because I'm seeing so many different ways that we can be using Writer in our workflows because we do a lot of repurposing. We have a newsletter. We're writing announcements for Slack. There's a lot going on. But go check it out. Like if nothing else, go kick the tires. I was super impressed with what I could get done in, maybe 20 minutes of just like learning curve and then 30 minutes of actually working. Got a ton of work done. There's a few in here. There's one really interesting one. Mike Nelson from Really Good Emails. Hey, Mike, this is a fascinating question. He said, based on my experience with tools like this, I haven't been able to generate anything with a consistent, humorous voice. Can Writer ingest prior content and emulate similar joke patterns?
Yeah, that's interesting. There is this like in some of the open source models, this like tendency to deteriorate for the output to kind of deteriorate over like longer generations. That doesn't happen with Writer. And then I think the second aspect of the question is really around like the consistency of the humor voice. And I think like the specificity of the type of humor in making sure that is consistent, regardless of what is fed in on the input side, is really just probably a data breadth question. But folks have been really excited and impressed by the consistency with which we can emulate a brand voice. So much so that we've actually had both customers and prospects ask us if they can emulate a competitor's brand voice, which for
Oh,
ethical
interesting.
reasons we always say no to. Of course, we'll help you build up your own, and we've got like tools and resources to and soon a workshop on how to think about and develop and evangelize the company's brand voice. But yeah, I think humor is a big part of that, and yeah, hopefully you'll be able to see the difference in Writer.
Awesome. Another good one. This is from Julia, who asked, "How would an agency or freelancer use Writer with several different clients and industries?" And I'm assuming what she's getting at is like each client has their own
Yeah,
style and style guide and brand voice and that kind of thing.
yeah. So that's called different teams in Writer, and that happens all the time. We sell mostly direct, and so with other customers, they've got marketing and sales and product and content design and support that maybe all share a similar term bank, but actually can write in different styles. The most basic example, and this happens a lot, is actually support and documentation need to be able to write in passive voice because they want to make sure it doesn't feel so accusatory when they're talking to a user about some user error. Whereas, like, passive voice is never okay in marketing copy. So you get a lot of those editorial and style decisions that come up. And so for agencies, we've got a few agency customers, they use that same feature to actually be by client.
Got it. That's really cool. Another one. This one's from Nick, who asked, "Could Writer create content briefs? Like, could it spit out a could it generate an outline for a human writer?" And then I'm going to add on to that and ask you to chat briefly about turning content briefs into blog posts. And teaser, we made a tutorial on that. I dropped it in the chat, so there's you can actually see how this works. But would you mind just touching on creating briefs and turning briefs into posts?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So we've got an outline template, so you can put in a keyword or a headline, and we will turn that into an outline that you can then take into Blog Builder. But most people are using a ClearScope for an outline or a brief, and then bringing that into Writer. So definitely check out the Blog Builder tutorial. Jimmy, if you've got a URL for it, maybe drop that in.
Yeah,
It
I
is
did.
powerful.
It's in there.
Oh, perfect. But yeah, we're not interested in being in the content brief business right now. ClearScope is fantastic and it does the job, which is awesome. We are, and I could probably preview this, trying to do something a lot more advanced around Google's EAT guidelines. And a lot of what the kind of content briefing companies are doing right now doesn't get to the heart of actually really helping with that information gain analysis. And so there is something coming out in the product in early Q1 that helps with that. So, we won't be
Cool.
replacing a scope. You'll still want to go do that. But there's more coming for our SEO folks.
Really cool. Um, I also think, Nick, the tutorial that I posted in there, you'll learn a lot from that. It's really interesting to see May walk through it. May, a few folks asked about tiers and what does the free version include. Can you just talk briefly about what the tiers are? And also, it's probably a good time to say that if you sign up for an enterprise plan, Writer's offering Superpath members 20% off. So just let them know you came from us. Yeah, but would you
Yeah.
mind just giving us a quick breakdown on how that works?
Yeah, totally. So you get 5,000 words of generations, like any which way, for $18 a user a month. And so, you know, for folks who, you know, are producing a lot more than that, but only have 2 users, you know, they're just buying more seats. And then, you know, that kind of
Mhm.
goes into the org level. And then on the enterprise side, it's a big jump. I mean, you've got customers who are generating millions of words a month with Writer. And so that's on the enterprise side. In free, I believe it is like 1,500 or 2,000 words. Like it's really just a preview on free. We've got a feature called Rewrite that we haven't actually launched yet, but is in the product that allows you via the Chrome extension to highlight a bunch of text and rewrite it. And that's customizable too. UiPath can UiPathify, Deloitte can Deloitteify, like at the beginning or the end of a piece, for example. And so that is all included in the free plan too.
Really cool. That's really cool. Another question in here about emerging industries. Laura asks, have you seen any Web3 or crypto-based companies utilize Writer? If so, how does Writer do with these emerging industries?
Yeah, really good question. OKCoin is a really big customer. They're wonderful. Amy Connors spoke at our workshop on taxonomy last week. And so with newer technologies, you know, this is the power of Writer. You want the foundational model to have a lot of information that's new. You know, we're able to include even proprietary information in the models, right? And that's really powerful. So for financial services, and I would put financial services in this bucket too. We have aviation companies who are customers. You know, there's a lot of like technical and product information that's not on the web that wouldn't be in our foundational model that needs to come into and be reflected in the content. And that's where the fine tuning comes in. So
Got
that'll
it.
be important. I just saw the free the templates in the free plan. The team trial has a 30-day free plan. So even the $18 a month, you don't have to pay for a month. So you can definitely go in there and be trying things out.
Cool. That's awesome. Um, could you talk a little, just briefly, May, about so like the Intuit example you showed, where like they have a custom template, you know, it's very specific to the types of ads they're running, character counts, also brand and style, and then even like the drop down with the different products that they're looking to sell. If you're an Intuit, how does that work? I assume that's an enterprise plan. Is there an onboarding process? Like, how do you go from like we're a company that wants to do this to like we're actually up and running and have some cool templates like this set up?
Yeah, totally. Almost everybody sort of has like a brainstorming at the beginning with our CSMs, who are, you know, kind of crosses between data scientists, editorial specialists, and, you know, writer experts. And there are so many ideas, right? Like we could use Writer here, we could use Writer there, we could have a custom template for this, custom template for that, and it really is kind of that sweet spot of the output is structured. We've got data and precedent. And so, like, you know, we've got things that people have written that we like. There's somebody there that can like evaluate the output. This is like a pain, you know, like this is not something we create once a year, but like it is, you know, it comes up often. And we kind of prioritize that way. And so it's really the ideation piece that actually takes the longest. You know, we've got a lot of tooling internally where we spin up those templates in minutes, and our CSMs can do it. We've got kind of internal backends. And some of that we're actually putting into the interface. And so you'll be able to put in examples of the different types of content for some of the out of the box templates for your own fine
Oh,
tuning.
cool.
Yeah. But you know, it's really the ideation that can take a few days. And then the actual like building and shipping of it is, you know, a day, couple days once we have the data.
Awesome. Really cool. Really cool. A couple more here. Sierra asks, how long does it take for the co-write feature to learn your voice and tone? Can you explain a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, it's instant, right? Because it's machine learning. So as soon as you have the data in, then the output is there. Now we can learn from the telemetry data and then kind of do the bulk updates. So you know, especially folks who are using the API, you know, we have a healthcare example where we'll return um, text will come to us. We will edit the text that a doctor or a nurse wrote, and then send it back to the company, and then they have a QA service, and then they will do further edits. And so those further edits come back to us, right? And then we will bulk train to make sure over time,
Mm,
right, they're actually having to do further additional edits. And so again, you want to be able to have collected enough data that it makes a difference, when you are making those changes. So you're not writing a bunch of rules, but can, use it, use some unstructured learning to get the kind of output that we want. But usually, I mean, this is what's beautiful about these models. Like, you don't need, this is not the deep learning of yesteryear. You don't need thousands of rows. Dozens
That's really
or
cool.
works.
That's really interesting. I will say too, just as I was creating blog posts, I found that tinkering with the inputs had a pretty significant effect on the outputs. And so, um, like if folks are thinking like, I want to give it a keyword and get a 1,500 word blog post back, like, probably wouldn't set that expectation. But
Yeah.
if you're working with the blog post builder, right, or even like I was using the Ask Writer Anything feature, and I found that if I'm really specific about what I'm trying to get back, I get really good results. And that sounds obvious, like especially now having done it 12 or 13 times. But it's really helpful to try something, see what you get back, kind of iterate on it, see what you get back, and Writer will show you the different versions for each of your queries. And you'll basically watch it get better and more specific as you go until you get to a point where it's basically exactly what you need. And I edited a few things just very slightly. But for the most part, the stuff that we'll send out later is purely generated by Writer based on my requests of things like, write 400 words and include 3 bullet points about how Writer's AI platform helps you generate headline ideas. And then I'll write a sentence or two about why generating headline ideas is a challenge. And next thing you know, I've got blog posts to work with. So super cool. One of the things I want to ask you about, May, was magic links. So I think I saw you post about this on LinkedIn yesterday. So I'm hoping this is like public enough to ask you about,
Yes.
but there's a new feature that we teased earlier that helps you build internal links to your own blog post. Do you mind explaining briefly how that works?
Yeah, totally. And we've got a nice tutorial on that as well. So basically, you'll highlight a keyword that you want to figure out if you've got internal links for, and we'll automatically surface them. So it is definitely a time saver. A lot of us are trying to make sure everything is internally linked, and so it literally takes 5 seconds after you finished writing something, and you've got as many links as you want.
Sorry. It's really cool. And we're obviously going to share the tutorial so that folks can see it for themselves. But it was just such like when you showed it to me, I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
how cool is that? Like the average blog post has 0 internal links. So if you can add even 3 or 4 to kind of like point search engines and your readers to like the deeper parts of your site, really, really good for SEO.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we've worked through pretty much all of our questions. So I guess a few last things for folks. We're going to send out the recording later today. We'll publish the tutorials. I'll keep all of that in one place, so it's really easy for everybody to navigate. Obviously, we encourage you to go try it out, writer.com. You can kick the tires on a free plan. And then, as I mentioned, if you do want to try an enterprise plan, let the team know that you came from Superpath. Writer's been kind enough to offer our members 20% off of those plans, which is very generous and we're quite grateful for. I think it's it on my anything else on your end, May?
No, I'm so excited to start the conversation with your community, and thanks everybody for the awesome engagement and wonderful questions.
Amazing. Cool. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Have a great Thursday, and we will see you on the next webinar. Take care.
Bye all.